You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner. Ed Frankel joins us. He is the chairman of the Board of Tikva Odessa, also one of the American founders of the organization, and very involved in helping the rescue efforts that are taking place as we speak in the Ukraine. Ed, good to see you again. The last time I saw you was at the Tikva Odessa dinner about 3 years ago on the west side of Manhattan, which was a wonderful event, a wonderful night, and it's quite a difference between then and today. But thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. What I know, we've done a couple of programs about Tikva Odessa. What I found intriguing, a lot of my listeners found intriguing, is that Tikva Odessa has 300 orphans under their care. They have a whole community of those that are educated by Tikva. It's a whole community, but the foundation one is the orphanage. That you have so many kids that are either abandoned or lost parents, or just simply, which I think a lot of people found very touching and very sad at the same time.
Well, it's an unbelievable story. We've been in business of doing this for 23 years. And so we're a long established organization. And in the last 10 days, we've actually moved 800 people en masse out of Ukraine to Romania. Our whole family is here, except for, unfortunately, another few hundred of our school children. We're still in the process of moving people out. We're probably the only organization in the Ukraine, and certainly Jewish organization, that have moved so many people so fast to safety.
It's just, it's impressive. I'll tell you what I'm hearing from other communities. This is what I think I found very, very interesting about what you're doing, is that a lot of times they scatter them all over. Everybody went every place else, but here you're trying to keep a community intact. You moved, the bulk of everybody that you could so far to Romania. And so you have a nucleus of people all together, so life can continue with the same people, as opposed to going to different countries by themselves with very few people. And I would suspect a lot of communities that existed are no longer going to exist when this is all over.
Well, this is an amazing story. Our CEO and the board met about 6 weeks ago, and we decided to pre-plan a move in the eventuality the worst case scenario would happen. And what happened is worse than the worst case scenario. And the night we heard a bomb hit about a half a mile from the shul, we immediately said that all the people that are ready to move, we're moving. And we got into buses and we started to move 800 people over the next 4 days. And the story of this 800 people and how we move them out of Ukraine someday should be a movie. It's unbelievable. Our people were so resourceful. We had to go around tanks. We had to take back roads. And we traveled with the children for 25 hours until we reached a location just short of the border. And then we moved them across the border as soon as we could. And we had another group that moved to Moldova. And then we had them meet up with us. And we're currently in Romania in one location. And it's incredible. We'll be having Purim with 800 people and feeding 800 people kosher meals.
Wow. What I also found impressive is that you were able to get people that are men between 20 and 60 years of age, because the Ukrainian army wouldn't let them leave. Well, doesn't let any male leave the country, but you were able to somehow get them out, which I think is also something very, very special, because they wanted out and to want to move to safety, and you were able to do that.
Well, most of these people didn't qualify because they had 3 or more children, the older people. So there was a proviso in there that 18 to 60, unless you had 3 or more children. So that was very helpful. But the cost of moving these people was enormous. We started out paying $5,000 a bus, and halfway across with a group of 10 buses and 3 food trucks. We even traveled with 3 busloads of kosher food and 1 frozen food truck across Ukraine. It was amazing.
How'd you pull that off? Because I know it was hard to, first of all, $5,000 a bus is cheap. I heard people paying $25,000 a bus. So how'd you pull this all off?
Well, they stopped halfway for a rest stop, and then the bus company told us we had to double the price then. So we went from 5 to 10, and the buses that we've been using for the last 4 days, we're now paying $30,000 a bus. And I was told by another Jewish group that we got a bargain, that they had to pay $100,000 a bus.
$100,000 a bus. Oh my God.
Unbelievable. By the way, we also moved several hundred elderly people out of the community that called us for help. And we took them across the border. So they were either in Moldova or Romania safely. And some of the Jewish agency groups met them and have taken care of them. We've actually moved now somewhere just short of 2,500 people out of Ukraine.
How many more do you think you're going to be able to pull out? Or I'm sure you must be getting calls every day saying, hey, I decided, I changed my mind. I want to leave. I want to get out of here.
I think as soon as things get hotter in Odessa, we'll be moving probably another 200 to 400 people out. The cost is enormous, though. I must tell you that. We've told our CEO that somehow, some way, we will get him the money, but to save as many Jews as he possibly can. We're not giving him a minimum or maximum number of Jews. There's no Schindler's List here. This list can go on, and somehow we're hoping that people will support us with financing. Save a Jew out of Ukraine is what we're trying to say.
So this is a lot of money. I don't know how much money is being spent. It could end up in the millions of dollars. So where are you getting the money from? Are people responding to you? Where are you dwelling? Because if the price keeps going up, and I would assume that you said $100,000 for a bus, and that may be the going price if things get even worse, which it seems to be doing so in the Ukraine. So where is the guilt coming from?
Well, first, I would say it's already cost us 3 times what we would normally spend in a month. 3 times that to just get the exodus out. I call our CEO the modern day Moses. The escape from Ukraine has been very costly, and our existing donors have stepped up to the plate, no doubt. But we are reaching out and finding people are very, very interested in donating to a specific place as opposed to giving it to an agency or a group.
We're going to give you that information now and later on. If people want to contribute to Tikva Odessa, very worthwhile charity, as you heard, doing amazing work in getting the orphans out, and anybody who needed help to get out of Odessa. Where do people learn more? How do people find out where to give and contribute?
Well, tikvaodessa.org.
And that's without an H, TIKVA, no H at the end.
Right, .org. Or they can sell checks directly to Tikva at VitaQuest, VITAQUEST, 8 Henderson Drive, West Caldwell, New Jersey, 07006.
I'll ask you to repeat in just a little while as well. We're speaking with Ed Frankel. He is the chairman of the board of Tikva Odessa. They are an orphanage where they had 300 people evacuated, but they're also a community of people who stay there, and they have a school, and they provide a lot of services. And now their services are being used to transport them to safety. They have about 800 people in Romania, still trying to transport more people to safety in the Ukraine. Ed, let me ask you this question. How did I know you're a very successful, prominent businessman. How did you get involved initially about 20 some years ago with Tikva Odessa?
Well, it's a long story. I don't think the interview could run as long as I tell you, but I can tell you, I really believe it was divine intervention that brought me to this group. It's a faraway place, and I heard about it through my partner in this deal, Seth Gersberg, who was also a businessman in New Jersey, and he brought it to me. And one point, we started as Tikva USA and have expanded now to where we have a group in the UK as well that helps support us. We started with less than 100 children. And as we left Odessa, we had over 900 Jewish children coming to our schools or living in our facilities, from babies all the way up to our own university. It's been a challenge over the years, but it's been well worth it, because we now have children that I held in my arms 20 years ago that have married each other.
Isn't that nice? And I know my son, I told Miriam, who we had on the program the other day, that my son was visiting Tikva Odessa. He was there in Ukraine with the joint, and he had an injury. And instead of taking him to a hospital in Odessa, which you don't want to go to a hospital in Odessa, you had a doctor on premises who treated him. And I know it's expensive, but you found it important, and I thank you for doing so, for having a doctor on premises to deal with any situations that come up, and they always do come up.
It was our pleasure to help you. But to give you an idea, we have our own medical staff. We have our own cooks that traveled with us. We have a group of psychologists that work with these children, because many of them have been affected in the past by the lifestyle that their parents had.
Talk to me about it, because some of the kids are orphans. Some of them have been abandoned by the families due to drugs and alcohol and other situations.
Yes.
So you have kids that are traumatized. I would assume what's happening now is only going to worsen the case for some of them. So let's talk about what's being done to help them, both from not just a physical point of view, but also from a mental point of view, psychological point of view.
Well, we are currently flying psychologists over from another country to work with the kids now. You can imagine these kids were taken out in the middle of the night with a backpack, put on a bus for 25 hours, transported, and then transported across the border. They had to get off the bus, walk across the border, get on another bus, and then travel all the way to Romania. So these kids now are pretty traumatized based on this alone. So, as I said, we're bringing in a group of psychologists to work with them, and frankly, as well with some of the parents. You know, they left behind a car, an apartment with all their personal belongings, their photographs, everything they love is still in Odessa, without knowing whether we'll ever return to Odessa. So the important thing for our group, which is unique, I think very unique, is that we're a family. We're 800 people that know each other, that love each other, and help each other. Many of our alumni work within the schools now. If they don't have jobs, we help them get jobs. So all 800 of these people are part of the Tikva family. Last year, we had a Seder for 800 people. And this year, we will have a Seder, and we will celebrate Purim together in Romania.
Now, you touched on something else. There are two aspects people are focused on, and I understand why. that the rescue operation, we have to get as many Jews as possible out of the dangerous parts of Ukraine, especially the orphans, is what you've done. But there's a part two, and part two is when you're, whether in Romania or Moldova, wherever they might be, they have no money. They left without anything. So it's traumatic for them. So you have to also continue to provide support on a day-to-day basis, including for Purim and the Passover holidays, where they have to be taking care of food, clothing, whatever they need. This is what you have to provide for them. So it gives you an extra responsibility too.
Our costs in Romania are actually more than our costs in Odessa, running our schools and paying all the salaries. And by the way, we left behind many very loyal Ukrainians who wanted to stay where they are, our teachers, a lot of our staff, cooks, and we're continuing to pay them at this point because they're part of our family, and we don't want them to suffer more than they have to. And we've also provided them the space in our houses where the children sleep, that they can go there and sleep there if they're in danger in their own homes. And we have cooks who are cooking the meal. We left food behind for them. So, as I say, we are a true family. We lived as a family in Odessa. And for the time being, until we know what's going on in the future, we're going to live as a family in Romania. And we really need the help of your listeners and would appreciate anything they can do to send us funds to support us there.
Because as you said, it's more expensive in Romania, and you have a double operation to get them out and also take care of them once they're at their new destination. Let's give out the information. Go ahead, Ed.
You can imagine what we're paying for the facilities they're staying in. We're not staying free in a place with rooms and beds and, and the food alone, with making 2,400 meals a day.
Wow.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
That's a lot. So let's give out the information. And I urge people to help Tikva Odessa, to help both get them out and sustain them where they are, so they can at least get food on the table and clothes, whatever they need, including medical help, which is what Tikva Odessa is providing for them. Let's give out Ed the information again, where people can get involved.
They can get involved by going to our website, tikvaodessa.org, or sending checks directly to Tikva at VitaQuest, VITAQUEST, 8 Henderson Drive, West Caldwell, New Jersey, 07006.
And let's give out, is there a phone number too where people can reach the organization?
We will have an 800 number within the next few days. Maybe you announce it in your future broadcast. I would appreciate that.
No, definitely, because Tikva Odessa is just amazing. It's a community, and what I got at the feedback was people were shocked to hear so many orphans in an orphanage, because not used to it, at least in the Jewish community here in the States, have such high numbers, and there's more than one orphanage in Ukraine, and that is shocking. But either they're orphans or abandoned by their parents, and you have, and Odessa, Tikva Odessa has taken upon itself to help them navigate life and to lead productive life, which a lot of them have done thanks to Tikva, with schools and all kinds of activities for them, including the parents. So Ed Frankel, the CEO of Tikva Odessa, and also founder of the American branch of Tikva Odessa, thank you for all that you're doing. I know you're working very hard, and I spoke to Merv and the rest of your staff are working very, very hard to get things done, and you're doing it. It's not just talk, it's doing it. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to get our story out.
No, it's an important story, and may you be able to keep the community intact, and may you be successful in doing what you're doing. And it's like I said, you have a double burden, and with Passover fast approaching, certainly on a good year, you have to get more matzahs and food, and everything goes up in price, and you have to feed more people this year it's even a more daunting task, and we'll be there to help you and to let people know about what's going on. So we'll look forward to having you back again.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And please help us.
Thanks for listening.
For continuous Jewish programs, talklinenetwork.com, or our 24-hour-a-day listen line
Can you hear me?
641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms, or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the talklinenetwork.com.